Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here from Oilers Live with another Thursday night live stream. I've got a few guests tonight, and these fellas, don't hold it against them. They made their hockey days as padded up in padded rooms, I'm sure, as well, in between the pipes at the back of the net. We've got Mr. Chad Graham and Mr. Bob Schmidt and fellow outside of the crease guy, Mr. Mike Dursa's joining me to keep me sane tonight. How you guys doing?
Good, Mike.
That is the best damn intro I have ever given you guys. Now, the very first thing that should have come out of your mouth was, wow, thanks for that, Michael. Thanks for that.
I would have. The sarcasm just dripping on that.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't. What I should have said was, I can't wait for my blocker to meet. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Fellas, you have a good day? I mean,
I had a great day.
Yeah, was a good day. I know we were talking just off air. Chad, you were out golfing. Bob,
Yep.
what kept you busy today? 76. That's right.
Well, I was trying to find Chad's golfing online so I could stream it and watch it because I'm such a huge fan. But instead I was stuck dealing with banking stuff and vehicle registration and that kind of crap.
Oh,
I feel like Bob's telling me I should get my own channel.
yeah, you need. That's what we need.
Read between the lines, Chad.
You know what we need is another Oilers podcast. Because I don't think we should be happy as Oilers fans until we break, probably 200. I was gonna say 100, but I'm pretty sure we're at the 200 or 100 mark already.
What about this, Mike? Is there an Oilers goalie podcast?
Oh man, there probably isn't, and there's probably good reason. Which people, if they're tuning in,
podcast two guys and a goalie.
Two guys and a goalie.
It's not Oiler goalies, though, is it?
I've got an unusual amount of goalies that follow me on Twitter, and it kind of scares me. It's like it gives me nightmares a little bit.
That's VIP stuff.
That is VIP.
It is a former Oilers goalie on that one too. It's Joaquin Gage.
Oh,
that's right.
That's right. That's right. There are Oilers goalies on doing podcasts out there.
Guess you two got to stay here.
Yeah.
Well, I
stuck with us.
I was listening between the lines. That sounds like Mike wants to sponsor an Oilers goalie podcast, Chad. That's what I heard.
Yeah. The Dursa Hour. The Dursa Hour. That's what they'll call it.
Yeah, no, I feel like my goalie counterpart Bob is great at reading between the lines.
It's just how I was in reading the play, right? So
right,
back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, One Skate in the Crease podcast.
One Skate in the Crease. Yeah. One stick to the back of the legs podcast. Oh man!
I wouldn't say one knowing Chad.
Yeah. One stick, the last play. One stick of play.
Better watch. Yeah, I'm more ample to accidentally have to move across and the stick comes up in that groin area.
Do the dry sidle. Oh man!
I perfected the art of doing the kick save where I would kick it not just out to the side. I kick forward and to the side. You can take 2 or 3 guys with one kick like
that. Yeah. And the ref if he made the wrong call, right? Yeah.
What's the ref doing there?
Are you legitimately saying that was over the line? Yeah, keep your head up, ref. Keep your head up. Hey guys, we do have some hockey news to talk about. Hall of Fame.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, first let me say, what a great day for Edmonton, right? What did they, what is it, 6 folks got in? So Ken Holland, let's read them out there. Ken Holland, Marian Hossa, Jerome McGinley, Kevin Lowe, Kim St. Pierre, and Doug Wilson. And out of those 6, there's a Edmonton connection, a strong Edmonton connection in 3 of them. 2 of them are from Edmonton. Ken Holland's from Edmonton, is he not? Even though he's there now, I believe he's actually from Edmonton.
And Jerome?
Jerome McGinley's from Edmonton, born in Edmonton. Although St. Albert would have some problem with that, but certainly the Edmonton metro area. And then Kevin Lowe.
Vernon, British Columbia.
Oh, he's from Vernon. That's right. I knew that. I know that when he came back, it was to be closer to home, so to speak. So we've got really 50% of them, though, and 2 of them are current Oilers, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty amazing feat for any one city to be connected to 50% of Hockey Hall of Famers. So first thoughts first, taking off your I bleed Oilers orange, Kevin Lowe.
Who's going first?
And nobody wants to touch this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got lots.
For his play, definitely. For his managing skills, not a chance.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I mean, Bob knows this because Grant Fierce on Twitter defending Kevin Lowe left and right now. There is certainly, as Oilers fans, we could probably have a case for any number of players that still aren't in the Hall from those teams, right? Like the Oilers teams of the 80s. Kevin Lowe's numbers, like from an offensive standpoint, he was definitely a stay-at-home guy, right? Offensively, there's nothing, in an era that was, relatively high scoring, he was not. But that doesn't mean anything. I mean, you got to have a chance there's got to be a chance for points not to matter, that you could just have a good stay-at-home guy.
Yeah, why did you put Charlie Huddy on a line with Paul Coffey?
Yeah, no, absolutely, right? Yeah. So I guess, is there any of the 3 of you think that Kevin Lowe shouldn't be there? Keep in mind, this is an Oilers podcast. So you're not going to be, if you say yes, then you're not going to be very popular.
Okay.
Yeah.
First off, I am thrilled whenever somebody who's wearing Oiler jersey gets into the Hall of Fame. I mean, being addicted to an Oilers all my life, it's just I want to see them all. I'd love to see Todd Marchand get in, for Pete's sake. I wouldn't argue that, because I just love guys wearing Oiler jerseys in there.
Marchand.
I do.
You're picking him out of thin air now.
The Hall of Fame, whether he deserves it or not.
Yeah.
But I do see the argument to Kevin, to people saying that Kevin Lowe doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. And again, I want to state for the record right off the bat that I'm happy he's in the Hall of Fame. I am a little bit surprised because I do think the Hall of Fame should be reserved for the elite in the game.
Yeah.
There's already people in there that probably don't belong in the Hall of Fame. So if you start comparing those guys, then yeah, Kevin Lowe does belong in the Hall of Fame. But in all honesty, he won the King Clancy Trophy. He's never really been in the running for any sort of awards. The All-Star games, you can throw those out because lots of times that's just representation, not necessarily because you quote unquote deserve to be there.
That's points too,
right? How many times do you think when people were the coach was talking in the dressing room before a game against the Oilers, how many times do you think he actually would bring up Kevin Lowe's name as a guy to watch? Beware when he's out there. I don't think he was a name that's
probably, you know what? I'm going to argue with you.
Please do.
I think they would tell players not to put it in his corner because you're going to get decimated. He was Scott Stevens before Scott Stevens was Scott Stevens.
But if we're doing that, then Luke Richardson should be in the Hall of Fame.
Defense wins championships.
So, okay. So let me, guys, there's, first off, I've got to ask a question. This is the discussion I want to have, by the way. because I think it's a valid discussion, and it leads to another one, which I'll get into right after. First off, right wing shoots left at highlighting hockey on Twitter said, "Did any of you hear the exchange between Burke and Lowe on Sportsnet today?" Today, yeah.
I listened to Stauffer's show a little bit today on the road, but no.
Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't hear it either, so I'm gonna have to. There's probably a clip of it, so we can't talk about that. Jeff Aid, who I know I've seen some of his tweets. He's watching on Periscope Twitter today. Says personally, wouldn't say he doesn't deserve it, but a little shocked at some of the guys he beat out, which I think completely fair.
Yeah.
I think so. My personal, and I like where this is going. I actually agree with Bob on this. I'm not certain that Kevin Lowe wasn't, as you said. I mean, he certainly was a guy, just like that you'd hate to play against, right? But to me, that doesn't necessarily make a Hall of Famer. And and look, the way that I view it, and Kevin Lowe is a big part of those teams, but there was also a ton of guys that were a big part of those teams.
I'm gonna argue
here,
this
let me
from a
finish.
different-
Let me finish. The way I view it
thought you
is
were.
if he never made it into the Hall, right? I'm not sure there wouldn't be some. It wouldn't be a big deal. Like, it would be a big deal to some, but it's just not gonna. There wouldn't be a big campaign to get Kevin Lowe into the Hall if he never made it. And to me, that's probably the earmark that you want to go on, right? Is that after a certain period of time, if a guy's not in there yet, that everybody thinks it's a travesty, because that's what the Hall is. We're talking exceptional talent.
Elite.
Right?
Elite players.
Yeah. And so,
I'm
hey,
gonna argue- I'm gonna
I've
argue-
never played a game in the NHL, right? So, I can't say much in terms of whether he was a good or a bad player. Like, I think he was a great player. Was he elite? That's not my. What's Grant saying?
Yeah.
Well, he's basically, I mean, he's actually arguing, which his arguments are fair. His arguments are just that, because the guys that are arguing that Lowe shouldn't be in the Hall are saying the exact wrong thing. They're saying that anybody on that team could have made it into the Hall. And that's just bullshit, right? We know that's bullshit. That's not the.
They're also just basing it totally on his points, which is
Yeah.
unfair as well.
Yeah, that's not
What-
fair
I'm
either.
gonna-
I don't agree.
What is
with
Grant
that.
saying?
That's what
Grant is
he's
saying
defending
Kevin Lowe
people.
deserves to be in the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame.
I don't know that he actually came out and said that, did he? Or
Yeah,
did
he
he
did.
just defend that he's a good player?
No, he did say, if you go back and read his
Yeah.
tweets, he did say that Kevin Lowe deserves to be there. But he did say that he felt like you mentioned before, that there's some other players that should have gone in before Kevin did. And he mentioned Fleury, for example, as one of his examples. He thinks Theo Fleury should be in the Hall.
I'm gonna argue your guys' point from a different avenue here.
Yeah, it's fine.
The 96 Chicago Bulls are the best basketball team ever assembled because they acquired Dennis Rodman. Rodman didn't score a lot of points.
Yeah, but neither of us are saying points matter. I don't think
No.
points matter.
Well, when you start saying that Kevin Lowe wasn't elite, why wasn't he elite? He
I'm
was
not.
a-
It has
an
nothing to do
unreal
with points.
shutdown defender.
And in a time period when goals were just scored everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what makes him a Hall of Famer is his defensive play.
So
He
yeah,
was a
so what is
pivotal
Grant-
player in the Oilers championships. He was a cornerstone for
Yeah,
them.
there's-
I don't think he
I-
was
like-
elite.
Neither of us, and I think with Bob, neither of us are saying Kevin Lowe wasn't a great player.
No,
Right.
But what I'm saying is, if you and the way that I think about it is it's just exactly like what I said before, is 10, 15 years from now, if Kevin Lowe still wasn't in the Hall, would there be a campaign to say it was some type of travesty that he wasn't? I
think
actually
that's why he
suggest
got
there
in
wouldn't
today.
be. There
I think
was
that's
no
why he got it
campaign.
today.
There was no campaign, no, I don't think. Now, having said that, there's a whole bunch of people that vote on this that thought he was worthy. So, those are good. Most of them are good hockey minds, not all of them, but
And one of the things that I think that happened to Kevin is he got overshadowed by Paul. Look what Paul can do. You lose sight of what Kevin was actually doing.
okay. I mean,
now let's
yeah.
break this down.
Go ahead.
Let's talk. Rod Langway. Rod Langway's in the Hall of Fame, deservedly so. His role was a shutdown player. Wasn't a point scorer. He was an elite shutdown player. He won a Norris Trophy, and he was in conversations for Norris's all the time. But yet, you also had high-flying defensemen on that team, like Kevin Hatcher was there early on. Scott Stevens came in, Al Frady kind of thing, and yet Langway still stood out as a cornerstone and as an elite level defender. I don't think Kevin Lowe is a Rod Langway. I think he's in the mold of Rod Langway, but I don't think it's apples oranges there to me.
Rod Langway also had a howitzer for a shot. Kevin Lowe didn't.
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
Kevin
I mean,
Lowe
I don't think there's any argument that we're all sort of this is the fine line between great and elite, right?
And the other thing about Kevin Lowe that kind of gets overlooked is there's traits that Ryan Smith had that Kevin Lowe has. The guy would play with a broken wrist and you wouldn't even know it because he wouldn't say a word.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing, Mike, is nothing's getting overlooked. He's in the hall, right? In fact, we're suggesting we're suggesting maybe they've looked at too much, but nothing's been overlooked. He made it into the hall. The guy, you cannot say he's underrated, right?
Not now.
Yeah.
I was looking at it today. I was thinking about it today. Remember when Mike Greer, he separated his shoulder 3 times in one game, and how everybody looks to him as being just a warrior and probably one of the gutsiest players to ever wear an Oilers jersey. Kevin Lowe was that same guy, but you never even knew. He was playing with a broken ankle in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, he played with a broken wrist, a full cast, and he also had broken ribs in the 1988 playoffs. Never missed a game, and he never complained. Yeah. Which is fantastic. He is a warrior and he is a stud. But playing through broken wrists and full cast doesn't mean
right.
Matt Hendricks almost lost a testicle and he came out and played again. I'm not getting him in the hall.
That cup's in the hall, isn't it?
Yeah, the cup's in the hall.
That should be in the balls of fame.
yeah.
I want to find out what Gretz thinks about this. That's all. I want to hear Wayne's side of this whole.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't ask Wayne Gretzky, right?
He let off soft for
at the end of the day, enough people thought that he was worthy of the hall. And really,
do you ask Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah.
Do you ask Wayne Gretzky those cups you guys won and easily, or not easily, but those cups you guys won, was Kevin Lowe a major factor, or was he just the guy that defended?
There's no doubt he was a factor.
So at the end of the day, what makes you elite? Are you elite when you win 5 cups, or
well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure you could factor on that team, right? There are a lot of guys that won 5 cups that will never see the light of the hall, right? There's and that's just
because the cast of characters changed over the years, right?
Yeah. Well, not a lot of guys, but there are some guys that saw multiple cups. Where some guys that are will never see a cup, right? And I mean, you just can't, especially with that team. You can't. The cups were a team. It was a team, right? There are so many great parts to that team. The fact that you had the greatest player to ever play the game, the fact that you had Grant Fuhr, that you had Kevin Lowe, that you had Paul Coffey, Mark Messier.
You
just
literally just answered your own question. The fact
no.
that you had Kevin Lowe.
I'm just saying that, the cups though on that, right? I'm not. Hey, look, he got voted in, right? And I think congratulations to him.
Kevin Lowe elite. Well, here's what made Kevin Lowe elite. This is my thoughts. Is that he had a part to play on that team and he played it. That's what made him great. He had a part to play and he played it.
I don't think there's no doubt he's great. He is a great player. I'm not my own personal opinion.
He was a champion. His Stanley Cups speak for themselves, and he played a major role in them. Now, Do the Oilers not win Stanley Cups if they don't have Kevin Lowe? No, they still win them. Yeah, he was a major role, but heck, we won a Stanley Cup without Wayne Gretzky. So we could have won a Stanley Cup without Kevin Lowe. Now, again, going back to my original comment, I am overjoyed that Kevin Lowe is in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's another Oiler in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I love it. I just think there's other people who may have deserved it more at this point than Kevin did. But having said that, again, Durst, I see you're about to interrupt me. I love Kevin Lowe.
Yeah. We're this is the Kevin Lowe loving. We love the guy. We're all happy for him. Like, don't get that wrong.
I think Theo Fleury belongs in the Hall of Fame
for sure,
and it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Alexander McGillney is probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Yes.
But I mean, Kevin's got 6 cups, and how long has he been retired? So they look at that, right? And they put him in. I got no problem with who they left out, because I think some of those other guys that have been left out are going to get in. Theo Fleury, though, if he isn't in there, that to me that's a travesty. I mean,
that's a Pete Rose situation there. They're basing it on his off ice activities than they are of his on ice activities. I think it's wrong.
And I don't think it. Some people are trying to say it's his politics. I don't think that's it. I think it's the other shit that he got into. I mean, he's still banned. He can never go into the United Center in Chicago. He's banned there for life.
But I'll never forget when I hate it. I'm gonna regret saying this the second I say it. But the goalie scored on Radford and did the fucking half ice on the knees and
I was there.
Overtime winner. Oh,
That was against Fear, not Radford.
Fear. Sorry. Painful.
I was there. You know what he did there? He did the David Rittich. We won Game 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Theo Fleury was a great hockey player when he played. Oh man. Whew.
You know how I know he's really good? Because at the time he was the most hated player on the Flames for me.
And 5'4" and managed to just be elite.
Well, if we're going by hate, then Claude Lemieux should be the Hall of Fame. I never want to see that happen.
So here's 2 questions in one. Here, which we already know the answer to the if. So Kevin Lowe, whether I think so or not, is a Hall of Fame player now. Let's just put that out there. So nobody effing cares what I think. He's in the Hall of Fame, right? Now that he's in the Hall of Fame, what do you think of the fact that Taylor Hall wore number 4 when he was here? Like, that they let a future Hall of Famer, like, they let him wear his number? And then B, does you know how it works, right? Right? Like, then B, now that he's in the Hall of Fame, is the jersey retirement a for sure thing?
Yeah.
That's what they've been doing. They've been waiting until they get the Hall of Fame, except for Al Hamilton, because he was the first captain ever for the Oilers.
Yeah.
And
I heard the story of where that all came from. You know where that came from? Kevin Lowe. He implemented that rule. It's not really like set in stone, but him and Patrick LaForge came up with that. And the reason they came up with that is because everybody wanted Kevin's number to go up, and he came up with that rule to keep his own number from going up in the rafters.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds
said that today on Stoffer Show.
He said that?
Oh, that was oversight. His number should be up there.
It should be. It's got to now, but I think
I
think it should have been before.
I think he waits for Chris Russell to because he's a gentleman, right? He wouldn't say, okay, now it goes up. Like he stopped his own number from going up. He let Hall have it.
Yeah, I knew he let him have it, but I didn't know he was the guy who implemented the rule for it rule.
Yeah. Him and Patrick LaForge.
Well, they had to have asked him, right? If they felt strongly that he was going to make it into the Hall, they had to have asked him for Taylor Hall to wear. That's too many bloody Halls. I'm sure there's even a tongue twister in there.
Michael, did I ever tell you the story about the first hockey game I took Max to?
You might have, but I'd have to go back through a lot of taped, recorded interviews and shit. Tell it again.
Max was 4 years old, Hall wore number 4, and he was fixated on 4. So I took him into Rexall, and you know how many number 4s are in Rexall? On every chair.
Oh
That's
yeah.
number 4. That's 4. That's 4. And then that was when Taylor Hall got stepped on. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, in warm up.
He was up in the press box, and Max says to me, he says, "Dad, I see Taylor Hall." I'm like, "Max, no, he's not playing tonight. He's hurt." "No, Dad, not on the bench, up there." And he points up to the skywalk, like the catwalk above Rexall, and sure enough, he was up there.
Picked him up before Dad.
Yeah.
So at Highlighting Hockey says, you guys are a lot nicer about Kevin Lowe, the hockey player, than Kevin Lowe, the GM.
Well, that's because he got voted as a player.
I gotta argue with Chad because he didn't like Kevin as a GM. That 06 run, that doesn't happen if it's Peter Chiarelli. You know, he's been the best GM we've had since Tel Holland, and that draft, or sorry, not draft day, that deadline day. I don't know if you can find another GM that had as a home run of deadline day as Kevin did. You know that.
Or
much.
you could say he had one successful deadline day and architected 14 years of shit.
Yes.
Right?
You could. But I don't think you can put all the onus for that on Kevin.
No,
Lowe.
you can't.
I
But you know, certainly
You can
revved
if
it
you
up
want,
a little
but
bit.
I don't think it's legitimate.
And he wasn't making any friends out there, right? Like,
No.
you know, I mean, you gotta have a win-win as a GM, right? Like that's how Ken Holland does it, right? Like even though we always say he's a genius for the Lucic Neal trade, it was still a win-win.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Ladislav Schmid to just blossom into a hell of a defenseman.
you bet he will. I mean, I've never looked at Kevin Lowe as really that run. The only people that knew they were going to the finals that year were the guys in the room because they felt it, right?
Yep.
What George Larac. Other than that, we were along for a hell of a ride that we didn't even know. Right?
And what a
Yeah.
ride! Oh my God.
That was Cinderella.
Yeah, and so so any GM can get lucky once. Chiarelli even got lucky a couple times, and not so lucky more often than not. But
Did you see Sean's tweet the other day? SPR?
No.
About Chiarelli?
Oh, okay. I know which one you're talking about.
I was thinking about it after. I'm like, wouldn't you just love to be a car salesman when Chiarelli walks in?
Oh man. Is there a worse negotiator in hockey?
Is,
and he's a lawyer.
Was a good GM, but I think Chiarelli was a good GM. 10 years before he came to Edmonton or something like that. Like in his Boston days, he built a Stanley Cup winner. But the problem is the game changes so much, and he didn't change. He still saw the game the same way. He tried to build a team like the Bruins were when they won the Cup, but that type of game didn't fly anymore.
Remember the whole Taylor for Taylor or Tyler thing?
Yeah.
They got pushed for like 2 years. That son of a bitch traded them both.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's a legacy.
There is yeah.
Ooh, that's a touchy subject too. The Taylor Hall trade.
Yeah.
I was very for the Taylor Hall trade. Just saying.
You were what?
For.
You're for the Taylor Hall trade. They're I'm not against it actually. I'm not against the Taylor Hall trade.
My biggest
I'm not against him.
My biggest beef on that trade is that he didn't get enough.
Yeah, Adam Larson's not enough.
I like Adam Larson. I've got nothing against Adam Larson, but it wasn't enough.
Well, the thing is, New Jersey instantly got their best player, and in return, we didn't even get we got a top 4 D man. He wasn't even the top 2 D man, right? Sort of thing. Right. So 1-for-1, the trade is terrible. But the whole point of that trade was to free up cap so we could go get Luke.
But here's the thing.
And get a defenseman that was going to be something.
Here's what I think is the worst.
I'm not arguing that, Chad.
Worst part of Chiarelli, though. Worst part of Chiarelli is the guy was not a great, like, he had no great strategy, no great negotiation skills. Like contracts, the Lucic contract, right? The Taylor Hall trade, I agree with you. I'm not, like, I like Larson. I mean, he was a big part of us making the playoffs. A huge part of us making the playoffs. And there were a lot of guys in the league that came, like players, that came to Chiarelli's defense after that and said, "You got a hell of a player there, like a Kevin Lowe type of guy in the corners type of player." We're just the guy we're talking about. Now, having said that, I think still you're right, Mike. We didn't get enough for a guy that ended up being a Hart Trophy player, and here's the reason, because in his great strategy and negotiation skills, Chiarelli, like, basically told everybody, my hands are tied, right? Like, I'm trading Hall. And
hold on a sec, though. Where's Taylor Hall now?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Arizona.
Nobody's quite sure where Taylor Hall is.
I'm just wondering, like, how many teams is Taylor going to go through before he starts acting like a responsible NHL player?
Yeah. No, but here's the thing. Though. Like, at the time, nobody even knew that. But if he didn't, play,
they damn well knew it in the room. And
if Chiarelli, though, didn't play his hand, Chiarelli played his hand before the trade was made. And so, if you play your hand before you make a trade, then guys will give you. They know you're up against it, right? Like, they knew he was going to had to take what he had to take.
Yeah, but in the long run, did we lose that trade?
No, we didn't lose the trade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what the hell's everybody? He was a cancer in the dressing room. He's a pretty boy.
No, we definitely won the trade, I think.
Yeah.
I just think we could have won it more. Yeah.
He went to Jersey, had a Hart Trophy year, then had a piss poor year, cried in the locker room. Now he's in where? Arizona? Where is he now? Who knows where he is?
One of the most telling things was when the guys went and played on that Eastern road trip, and they had all those pictures at Eberle's place.
Yes.
And we didn't see any pictures at Taylor Hall's digs,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. Eberle was a bigger loss to me than Hall was, hands down.
I agree with Mike. He could have got more.
I agree with Person as well. Yeah.
He could have got more.
Just out of curiosity, what were they going to get?
I don't know. I don't know what more they could have got. I just think that the reason he didn't.
Fans, we know one thing, and inside the NHL, they know another thing. So
yeah, well, fair enough.
Taylor Hall.
That's fair.
Oh, that's the beauty of these conversations, is because it's just speculation. But 1-for-1, 100%, we could have gotten a better payoff at that time.
I will have you know, Chiarelli is one of the biggest listeners to this show. He is one of the biggest listeners.
Well,
he's doing nothing else now.
As well. Loud, Peter, I love the Taylor Hall trade. I love Adam Larson. I think that was a great trade. Thank you so much for bringing Larson to Oilers, because he's still an Oiler.
Yeah, I'm a big Larson fan.
I've got nothing against Adam Larson. I think he's Swedish Gator, but when you're trading, a perennial all-star forward, you need to get more back, and he didn't, and that, to me, that's a failure.
So what makes Connor McDavid so great? Is it his ability to do the things he does, or the ability to run a team?
All of it.
Taylor Hall will never be Connor McDavid because he cannot even think about a team above him.
Well, nobody's going to be Connor McDavid.
Yeah, there's that.
He's never going to be a Jonathan Taves. He's never going to be anybody that actually is a leader of a team. He's not what everyone thinks they are. So he's a Mark Messier. And Mark was a great leader, so he's not even a Mark Messier. He's just a guy that can skate really fast down the right side, cut to the net, maybe not. Who knows?
You know what the difference is, Chad?
Good
between everybody you're saying and Taylor Hall? And this is going to sound like a slight, but Hall's a left winger. Everybody else you named are centers.
I don't care.
Centers can impact the game more than a winger.
He's never gonna be he will never be a team leader. He's not somebody that is worth what everybody thinks he's worth. He's a great left winger, and he can shoot the puck and he can score goals and he's really fast, but he just doesn't have the team mentality. He's not a leader. Sorry. I think Adam Larson is 100 times a player. Thank you, Shirelli. I'm going to stick to my guns. Peace out.
Okay.
You know who Taylor Hall is going to end up being like? Taylor Hall is going to be the next Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel's not a leader, and he'll never be a leader on any team, but he'll score you goals. He'll be in all-star games, and he'll end up with a decent career and be a top 5 scorer on any team he's on.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Adam Larson is still an Oiler, and he's still a pivotal part of our team. Where's Taylor now? How many teams?
Where is Taylor now? He's in quarantine, man, somewhere. Nobody knows where Taylor is.
No.
We should start making shirts.
I hate to be a party pooper, but I just don't see the hype with Taylor Hall.
On the Oilerslive gear page, you can buy "Where's Taylor Now" shirts. Where is Taylor now? All right, guys, let's get off of Taylor Hall.
Where is Taylor Hall?
Yeah, we're getting off of Taylor Hall and the Hall of Fame. Next up tonight.
I got a little trivia for you guys.
Oh no! Next up, I got another topic for us because this is the world of hockey right now. Probably one of the greatest GMs in the league came out with his top 5 players, and they were in order: Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr, Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky, Martin Brodeur. First off, Bob, do you know, or no, Chad's not on Twitter. What GM would put those as his top 5? Bob, just give it to you. Mike Milbury. Mike Milbury. You're talking. We're complaining about Kevin Lowe as a GM and Peter Chiarelli as a GM. There are like ballads written about Mike Milbury trades in this league. Man,
Rick
all right, yeah, trades and signings, top 10 thing. I mean, look, those guys don't even. If there is like a all failure team on the GM list, Mike Milbury is right up there.
Here's a Gordon Lightfoot wrote a song about Mike Milbury's career as a GM, but he called him Edmund Fitzgerald in the song.
So here's the other thing. This goes back, by the way. So this goes back.
We just lost all our viewers that are under 30.
Yeah, that's yeah, because we had a whole ton of them. So Jeff Veillette, who I don't follow, but I knew is quite common to make some Mike Milbury references. Anyway, Jeff Veillette. I can't even remember who the guy writes for. Anyway, he did a Milbury all-trade team, and and it was awesome, right? Like, so Milbury's traded away some of the best players. Chiarelli's actually all-trade team would be pretty damn good too, but Milbury had a really good one. I'm gonna find it. Anyway, what's your feeling on the list? Okay, so first off, are you surprised at all that Milbury would post that? And then B, like, is he far off other than Wayne Gretzky? We all know Wayne Gretzky should be top of that list. There's almost nobody in the world that would deny that. There's maybe some discussion as to whether or not it's where Lemieux would have been, but the reality of the day is Lemieux wasn't there because he didn't play as long as Gretzky, right? So you can't, if he didn't play, he didn't play. You just can't deny that, right? Like, so Gretzky played as long as he played and was as great as he was. So he's number one. What do you guys think? I found the top all trade list, by the way. Here, let me do that.
Okay.
This is the all trade list by Mike Milbury. Top line, left wing Wendell Clark, Jason Spezza, and Todd Bertuzzi. Second line, Steve Thomas, Mike Pekka, and Zygmunt Palffy.
Mike Pekka.
Wow.
J.P. Dumont, Olli Jokinen, and Marius Cherkasky. By the way, who did he get for Jokinen? I can't remember because nobody remembers. That's what he got for Jokinen. Jokinen and Luongo, I might add. He traded in the same trade. Tim Connolly, Trevor Linden, and Robert Reichel. On defense, Wade Redden. Here's a good one. Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
Brian McCabe and Brian Berard. And then Eric Brewer and former Oiler, Yanni Niinema.
So is Eric Brewer.
Yeah, Eric Brewer as well. Yeah. And then who I met this last summer. And then goaltenders, Roberto Luongo and Chris Osgood. He's got quite the team.
Pretty good team.
Yeah, not a bad team. Like if you think even if he just kept those guys together, that's got to be a Stanley Cup there. Right? I mean, there's no well, I could see a cup coming out of there. There's some good got Wendell Clark there for a little bit of grit, you know. Mike Pekka.
I just
Pekka's
checked,
a lot of Oilers actually on that list.
So Milbury traded Jokinen and Luongo to Florida for Mark Parrish and Oleg Kvasha.
There you go. I know. Oh man, I love that guy.
Wow.
At Burju Shaw, I was listening in on Periscope and Twitter. Says DiPietro's contract made the Lucic contract sound like a bargain.
Yep, that's true.
CCRHL is on. Said Milbury couldn't even GM one of our Div 14 teams to a ship, which I assume is the name of their championship.
Bobby Bonilla contract for hockey is DiPietro.
Old school baseball reference there.
He's still getting paid.
Oh, hey, wow. Wow.
Like a 50-year contract with the Mets.
Look at Durst is like bringing out the basketball references, the baseball references. You know what kind of show this is, right?
Durst is just grumpy about his Red Sox. That's all.
I'm still sad they traded Mookie Betts. Yeah.
Jeez.
Or didn't sign him. I guess he was a free agent.
60 games this year. 60
One
games.
year in LA, and then they'll bring him back.
All right. So that was the Mike Milbury.
Yeah, cool.
That's about as much time as we are going to take. Oh boy, there we go. That's about as much time as we're going to take on Mike Milbury today. You had a little bit of trivia there, Mr. Bob, the goalie.
I did. So staying with the Hall of Fame theme.
Okay, you guys in or what?
What are we playing?
We're playing some trivia. Jeez.
All right, what do you
Get
got?
that shit out of here, Mike. All right.
Keeping with the Hall of Fame theme, here's first off, so Kevin Lowe now is the 7th Edmonton Oiler to be selected in the Hall of Fame. Name 5 other players that have worn the Oiler jersey that are in the Hall of Fame.
That should be easy, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
We know 3: Grant, Messier, and Wayne. Those are the top 3.
I don't know. So the 7 Edmonton Oilers, there's 7 Edmonton Oilers that are in the Hall of Fame. Gretzky, Curry, Fuhrer, Coffey, Messier, Anderson, and now Kevin Lowe.
Oh, okay.
There are 5 other players in the Hall of Fame that have skated as an Edmonton Oiler. Who are they?
Oh,
Well, those guys did.
yeah, I know.
Went elsewhere.
I know. So back we got Gretzky, Messier. Yeah, no, okay. Jeez. Let's think about this. Did they give Marc-Andre Bergeron the call yet? Have they? No.
No, but I think he scored more points than Kevin Lowe.
Yeah, he probably has scored. Oh man. Geez, that's a good. There's 5 other players.
If it was up to me, I would have definitely chosen Dougie Wade.
Yeah. Billy Guerin.
Yeah.
Pronger?
Pronger. Yeah.
There you go.
Pronger's
I was wondering-
definitely one.
Oh,
That's the easy one. That's one of the easy ones. Jacques Plante
Nice
going for the
There's two.
goalie. Going for the goalie.
for the goalie.
So that's 2. Oilers.
Radford's not in the Hall of Fame yet, is he?
No.
Who's that?
Billy
Billy.
Radford.
No, he won't be.
Really?
I don't
No.
think so. I'm a huge Billy Radford fan, but
Me
he's not a Hall of
too.
Fame goalie.
Massive.
Cujo should be. Cujo
Oh,
should
yeah.
be. Yeah. Okay, so we've got Pronger and we've got Jacques Plante, and at CCRHL says Marc-Antoine Pouliot. No, no,
No.
just a bit
CCR
outside.
RHL is low tide, maybe.
There's
Pouliot.
2 other theirs I thought you might get for sure.
Oh man, I'm having a real hard time with this. Okay, give us like a position.
Bernie Nichols.
No.
No, Bernie's not in there.
Okay, I'll give you some of the next easier one. I think he played for the Oilers in 2003, 2004, 1 season for 60 games.
Peter Nedved.
No, not Nedved. 60 games for the Oilers. 2003, 2004.
Centerman, right-handed shot.
Bloody hell. I can just hear George Larac right now saying, "Man, you guys!" Just kidding. If I could do a French accent, he was so mad at us when he was asking who the announcer was in Buffalo. Man. All right, give us that guy. Who's that guy? 2003,
Okay,
2004.
well, I'll give you one more hint, but this will give it
Okay.
away probably. He spent most of his career setting up Brett Hull in St. Louis.
Oh,
Adam Olds.
yeah,
There you go.
Oates. Yeah. Wasn't he awesome?
And the other 2 guys you're missing played for the Oilers when they were in the WHA.
Oh, boo.
I'll give you one, but I'll make you guess the other one. One is Norm Ullman. He played for 2 seasons with the
Mhm.
Oilers, and better known for his Detroit Red Wings day. But the other guy was also a coach for the Oilers.
Teddy Green?
No.
No. Was a coach.
Ron Lowe?
No.
Shit. Come
Yeah,
on,
Tip.
Bob. Come on. You know what? You're supposed to be. Normally, we'd have you on the chat giving
Tippett.
us the answer. Who? Dave Tippin?
No.
No, not Tippin.
Tippett's not a Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
He is the coach for the Oilers. Come on, boys.
Say there?
Yeah, Glenn Sather. Yeah.
Well, he was in as a
yeah.
builder for Edmonton. He's not
Yeah,
Hall
but
of Fame as a player.
But the question was, other Hall of Famers that have worn the Oiler jersey in their playing career,
Yeah,
not for why they.
I said Sather right off the hop when you were like listing the 5 or the 6
yeah.
guys.
Yeah, no, he did. He said Sather
Oh.
right off the hop. Wow, Bob.
I'm at the point where I've tuned you out during.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Bobby.
I can't
tuned you
believe
out
it.
after you said Lowe wasn't elite.
It took you that many episodes. I've actually got control of the audio here. I just put his whole mic on mute most of the time. Yeah.
That was my
Pardon?
favorite thing ever. That was my favorite thing so far is tuning out Dursa.
Oh, okay. Who's the last guy? Who is it?
Well, we already got them all.
Oh,
It was the 5 guys were
see, I can't even
Jacques
count.
Norm Ullman, Glenn Sather, Adam Oates, and Chris Pronger.
Oh yeah, Brian. Yeah. That's a
And a
cool.
fun fact: Ken Holland being elected in the Hall of Fame, another ex-goalie.
Yeah, cheer.
Back up.
I wonder. Sadly, outside of Toronto, because Toronto's such a large population, if there's ever been a Hall of Fame like this, where one city is factored in.
Montreal,
Probably. Yeah.
Boston.
Think Boston's had a couple of Hall of Fames where they've had 3 or 4 from the area where they played there.
Detroit probably too.
New York, maybe.
Yeah. I guess any of
I think
the original
I
six.
bet the Oilers are the only non-original six team, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable, right? Whether you like Bob and you think he was just a so-so player, or you like Mike and you think he was elite.
Whoa!
Who's the
Just-
next Oiler that goes in?
What's that?
Who's the next Oiler that goes in?
Connor.
No, there's got to be. Well, that's a good question.
I don't know if there is one. I mean, you look at guys like.
Well, Connor is definitely in.
The biggest travesty, in my opinion, one of the best players that I've ever watched play hockey, and Wayne can back me up on this, actually, is Ales Hemsky. I love Ales Hemsky.
You think he's Hall of Fame?
I think that if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't have been an Oilers hockey team throughout most of 2000.
Okay, but you could say the same, and this argument was happening on Twitter about Shane Doan, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a Donor fan too, though. So, but
Would
we're
you-
talking Oilers.
Would you put Doan in the Hall? He was eligible today.
Shane Doan?
Yeah,
Shane
yeah.
Doan ran that team his entire career. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. A lot of people
In
would
a time-
disagree
in
with
a
you there.
place where they shouldn't have been anywhere near a playoff spot at any point in time in Arizona. Come on. Let's play hockey in a desert.
well, shit. Just because you play hockey in the desert doesn't make you elite.
I mean, when you go to a game,
Just because your
Mark-
team sucks for however many years doesn't make you elite, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
okay. Well, at least Hemsky had Donor had a couple of playoff spots too. But I don't know. Hemsky to me was one of those players I just wish he had a team other than 06. 06, he got to show his true colors.
There are not many people that bleed Oilers like you do, Chad. Like you, my man. Like you are, and I am a big Oilers fan, but I do try to be at least a little bit. I try to take off the oil-colored glasses once in a while.
Never. Not gonna happen.
but
Not
hey,
never.
I respect it, and that's why you're here. Yeah, no, you know what? At Hemsky, it just wouldn't cross my mind to put him in the Hall. I don't know.
Well, when Wayne Gretzky says he sees the ice better than anybody's ever seen in his life, that says a lot to me.
I don't think
Wayne
I
Gretzky,
think-
though, anytime we've had a great Oiler player, like a good Oiler player, Wayne Gretzky comes out to say something about him, right? Because he knows, like, what he says in Edmonton is going to be, like, resonate, right? Yeah, so I always wonder, would he have said that if Hemsky had played in...
Ask Giordano what he thinks of Ales Hemsky. Just saying.
Robin Regier.
Ask
Yeah,
Regier
yeah.
what he thinks of Ales Hemsky.
I think
Again, there's no
He's
doubt
Hall-
Hemsky
he's
was
Hall
a
of
great
Fame.
player. He's a good player.
I think
Just
Ryan
Hall-worthy.
Smith makes the Hall of Fame before Alish would, just based on his international play.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
That's
He
good.
might not make. I think when you're talking international, like is he in the IHF Hall of Fame? Do you know?
You're the stats guy.
I will. That's right. Come on, stats guy. Stats guy Bob is missing. Stats guy Bob is missing. Somebody put out a APB. We let me tell you what, guys. Between the three of you, like, I would totally love if I was your bookie, because you guys vote everywhere with your heart. I mean, this is like, you guys are like, oh man, I would just play the odds. I mean, like, you get 100 to 1.
Found the answer.
All
Ryan
right.
Smith will be inducted in the IHF Hall of Fame in 2020.
There you
There you
go.
go.
And deservedly so. There is no doubt about that.
And
All right.
and like I was listening today, the hall in Toronto is supposed to be all hockey, not just NHL. So
Well, it is. You got the
I think-
Europeans in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think in that aspect, that's why Smitty.
I've been in the hall.
No question, Alish was more talented. But
Go Ales!
yeah,
You think Ales Hemsky's no question, Mike?
I love
Well-
Ales Hemsky. Ales Hemsky was one of my favorite players.
Okay, well, yeah, no, we're getting that story. We're picking that up loud and clear. Yeah, like,
I think
There's no
Durst is
doubt.
dead on.
Yeah.
I think Durst is dead on. I think Ryan Smith should get in
Smitty,
the
eh?
Hockey Hall of Fame, not just a double IHF one, because they do put guys in just for international experience as well, and that weren't in the NHL. Like Tretiak never played in the NHL.
What about
Right? And then you
Cujo?
got other Russians in there.
Mentioned
And the women's
Cujo.
team,
What
Yeah.
about Cujo?
Cujo.
Yeah.
Come on. Don't forget the goalies, Bob. Don't forget the goalies, man. Wow.
actually, if we're gonna go goalies, I'm gonna go off the grid here because I
Oh,
think
no, not
Lawrence
off the
Chabot
grid.
is the top 20 goalie in the history of the NHL. He played in the 30s, and it's a huge oversight that he's not in the Hall of Fame. Huge.
Cujo.
There we go. The campaign has started for Cujo.
Is it?
I
what-
agree. Cujo should be in there. Cujo's a Hall of Famer.
Doug Wade.
Doug Wade, yeah! Woo! Dougie!
Yeah, Doug Waite.
And Garen's close.
Yeah, I think he's close. I don't know that I'd put Waite over. There's a couple of reasons why I'd put Doug Waite too. Just as a U.S. born player, like there's not there, and his I always thought
He
like
was
he was a
points
machine. Yeah.
I thought
His
Doug
passing
Wade
was
reminded me
unbelievable.
A lot of Wendell Clark, like just tough, but could score like a million goals and tough as nails. Like
I always thought Doug Waite and Draisaitl. That's who Draisaitl reminds me of.
Yeah, Dressel's got a lot more size than Dougie though.
Yeah. But the passing, like
Oh sure, but
yeah.
Wendell Clark and Doug Wade, they were pretty much the same player in my opinion.
I mean, it's funny that we think of Draisaitl as a like a goal scorer when his passing's ridiculous, right?
Oh,
like
for sure.
yeah,
And
Especially on his backhand. Wow.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And he's physical too. Like he's a big man, so
Yeah.
when he lays you out, it hurts.
There's
I like that Anaheim series with him.
Yep.
yeah.
He
It-
was
I-
he was like he
I
was
s-
like a post player in basketball. I mean, shielding the puck and using his other arm to hold the guy off, and it's fun to watch.
Here's a question: if they allow the James Neal, the compensatory pick, to go to the Calgary Flames,
They should.
can they claim? Can Draisaitl then claim that he had a 50-goal season because he was on pace, right?
But I just
So
I
anybody
just
that
feel
was on, I don't think the compensatory pick will happen. But shouldn't they be able to say then it was a 50-goal season if they're projecting, right? Because he was on pace for 50, was he not?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. And yeah, they should
Yeah.
be able to.
And you know that
project
Flames fans won't be arguing for that. Actually, the first thing they out of their mouth would be, "Oh, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. Only works when it works for us."
Yeah.
if we're gonna do projections, then we gotta look at Yamamoto's bonuses because he would have scored 82 points then.
Yeah, Yamo. Man, we were talking about Yamo on Monday. I love that kid.
That whole second line is a first line. I am so excited for the Oilers going forward. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Nuge and Draisaitl and Yamo, that is just, that's killer.
It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Oh man.
Pretty awesome. Better
I wanna
than
back
better
up
than
that-
watching Hemsky.
A bit about Ryan Smith. Just some fun facts here I saw. I was looking him up before, and knowing that Durst is a big Smith fan, I think you'll enjoy this. Maybe you even know this. But he's played a record 90 games, 9-0 for Hockey Canada. And he's the only player in hockey history to have won a gold in the Olympics, World Cup, World Championships, World Juniors, and Spengler Cup. He's the only player in the history to have ever done that.
And
He's like-
he was trying, or no, sorry, he was in senior hockey. It was his brothers that were going for the Allen Cup.
Yeah, Allen Cup, yeah.
He's like Bull Durham.
Does he have the Oilers record for power play goals as a rookie?
Holy crap, I don't know about that.
Actually, that's phenomenal that he had that many power play goals, isn't it? It's like
Ryan's pivotal part of the Edmonton period. I love Ryan.
Yeah.
Don't kid. Yeah.
Yeah, very curious if he. I think you'd have a. It's so hard, right? Like, here's the other thing, right? Is there are some worthy players that are not in the Hall, right? And of course, as time goes on, like your guy there, Shabbat, Bob. I mean, there's nobody that's watched him play anymore. Right? Now it's going to be a little bit different 50 years from now because the proliferation of video is made it easier to watch these guys play. But, a guy playing in his 30s, I mean, Bob, you might have been the only guy with a TV on the block at that time. And oh man.
In my mind, Lawrence Stott is a top 20 goalie in the history of the NHL. So the fact that he's not in there at all is ridiculous.
And horsehair pads, no less.
Right? No mask.
No mask, horsehair pads. The guy was a monster. I don't even know. Who did he play for? I don't even know who he played for.
Predominantly with Toronto.
Toronto. Oh, man. Bob, just shut your Skype off right now. Shut your Skype off. Shut it down. You're gone.
There's no way you hated the Maple Leafs of the 30s. You didn't even know any of them.
It doesn't matter. Shut your Skype
Tim
off.
Hortons.
No,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Me and Tim, we're like this. We're that close.
How about this for an argument for another goalie? What do you guys think about Tom Barrasso?
Oh, should be in.
100% needs to be in.
Actually, I didn't realize he wasn't in.
Yeah.
At Highlighting Hockey says, why isn't Paul Henderson in the Hall?
Because you can't put a guy in the Hall of Fame just for one goal.
It's a good goal, big one.
Yeah, but
But the rest of his career was.
Paul Henderson was a decent hockey player, but he's not one of the greats. I mean, he had a great tournament, fantastic, but you never hear of any of his other achievements in the NHL.
Bullshit. Fernando Pisani gets in.
See, there you
yeah. Hey, guys have made it into the Hall for various acts, and Paul Henderson is in the Hall, is he not, for that goal? I mean, that goal is in he's not there as he's not entered the Hall as one of the in the Great Hall. What do they call the where they get their name? There's a name for that room.
Inductees.
Yeah, he's not an inductee, but he's certainly in there for the goal. There's no doubt.
The moment is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the moment is in there.
Not him as a player.
Also, at Highlighting Hockey says it wasn't one goal. He says, do your research. Bob,
He scored the winner of the game before that as well. He had a great tournament. And he was a decent hockey player.
Yeah. To be fair, and I don't know much about Paul Henderson. I know the goal. Everybody knows the goal.
I mean, to be fair to your guy on what platform was that?
What's that? Where?
The guy that was asking or saying know your research.
Oh, that's Twitter.
I mean, to be fair, like the goal was definitely more outstanding than Kevin Lowe.
Simmer down. Simmer.
You are gonna get Mike all fired up here. You were gonna get Mike all fired up.
7 goals in that 8-game tournament, so he had a great tournament. But you can't go in the Hall of Fame for one great tournament.
I don't know if you're aware, but according to Mike Dursa, Kevin Lowe played one game where he had 4 cracked ribs. His hip was screwed into place in the middle of the second period, and he got out there. And nobody even knew. He did it all himself.
That Kevin Lowe's brain just stopped answering the phone when Lanny McDonald called. So
yeah.
Kevin borrowed my drill that night.
He borrowed my drill. And that drill is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That drill has more points than Kevin Lowe.
Oh man. You know what?
Edward,
It is awesome. What I actually think is kind of awesome, and this is what Grant Fear was getting all riled up about, right? Is we talk about these things on podcasts and guys, that also talk. But at the end of the day, there was enough guys to vote for Kevin Lowe to make it into the Hall, and that's really what matters, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
you know,
All kidding aside, I fully support Kevin Lowe in
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame. All
Yeah,
kidding
yeah.
aside.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'm thrilled. I love it.
yeah,
you
no,
know what
it's
makes
good.
me sad?
What? Well, we don't have that much time, Mike. This is not a therapy session here.
I used to work at Carpet Superstore, and Kevin Lowe used to do ads for. I got a signed Lowe jersey that I wore to rec hockey. Got blood all over it, and if I would have kept that jersey, it'd probably be worth a little bit more money today. So yeah, that makes me
And
sad.
Simpson.
Thanks for the therapy, though.
Here, you will like this, Bob, and I'm actually pretty sure you even know that. At Highlighting Hockey. By the way, thanks for tuning in. You're not going to be the most popular guy on here because he's also a Flames fan. But I have interacted with him a number of times, and he's pretty good. Anyway, and he's listening in, and everybody knows I make fun of the Flames all the time on here. But Fear, 14 points as a goalie, and he says no one will ever touch that. I actually didn't realize it was 14. I knew that he had a lot.
It's the most single season, but Tom Barrasso has the most per career.
Is it? Okay. What, that's unreal.
Because I would have thought Brodeur would be up there.
14 points, though, right?
I actually thought Turco would have been higher.
Like that year when we were just talking about Jean Drouin Delorier the other day. That year when Delorier was, that would have put Fear like a second top point getter on the Oilers that year. No,
He would have been playing online with Dustin Penner.
Him and Dustin Penner. Yeah.
You know, one year, what year was it? Penner led the Oilers in
2009.
scoring with like
63 points. Yeah.
How bad is that?
I think it was 63 or 65 points. I'm pretty sure it was 63 points. That was the year that the Oilers ruined Jean Drouin Delorier's career.
Yeah, nothing against Penner, but where was everybody else?
That who was second on that team? I believe it was. I'm going to look it up, but I think it was Gilbert Brûlé. Yeah, Brûlé.
Yeah. And then Sam Gagner.
Yeah. Now Sam, I'm not going to say anything bad about that guy. I want to see him back in an Oilers jersey. And Chad does not agree.
I just don't think he will. I want to see it, but I just don't.
Oh, you don't think it'll happen? Okay.
Yeah.
Like Hall of Famer, right? He's a Hall of Famer. He is a Hall of Famer. Wayne Gretzky once said that Sam Gagner had that. Oh, man. Yeah, so here I'm going to that year, Dustin Penner, 63 points. Sharp drop-off. And keep in mind, that was the year also not many Oilers played a full season. Sam Gagner played 68 games, had 41 points. He was second. Gilbert Brûlé was third with 37 points. Sean Horkoff was in there at fourth best scorer on the Oilers, having played almost the full season. In fact, there was only one player with over 20 goals that year. It was Dustin Penne.
Let's talk about the Sean Horkoff contract.
So here in fifth place, 73 games, 34 points. Everyone's favorite, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that loves the Edmonton Oilers, Patty O'Sullivan, 34 points. With a is with the plus minus of minus 35. Like that is ridiculous. Oh man, you know what? I went to high school with Struds, and I had him on the show early on. I've been thinking about reaching out to him. Mike, if I get him back, I'm going to reach out to him this week. If I get him back on, he played on that team. We've got to ask him about that. Like that was the one year I'm sure where he thought he had a chance of leading the team and points. He probably thought he had a legitimate chance of leading that team.
Was he forward that season?
That's right. Yeah, he played some wing. I think he did play forward at the tail end of that season. Yeah. But that was the year Habby Boulin got hurt, right?
Yeah.
Dulaurier came in, played 48 games. Absolutely got rocked, right? Like, and I mean rocked. That guy looked like the goalie from Slapshot, which if Brett Luchansky is watching right now, has no idea what I'm talking about.
Danny LeBrew.
Yeah, like I honestly, he's actually and. Delaurier then the next year, right? And then Dubnyk was the guy they put in and almost ruined him, right?
Thank Christ.
Yeah.
For Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, like these were guys, wasn't it Delaurier was picked 31st overall, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. First round goalie. And he, you know what? I remember that season. He had some real flashes of brilliance. He's still on that team. Still managed an over 900 save percentage with a 3.26 goals against average. Right?
Sick.
That is.
That would have been the season I probably would have developed an equipment allergy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, honestly. Oh man. You know who our enforcer was that year? You guys remember?
Stortini.
Yeah, Huggy Bear. Huggy Bear. Oh man, like honestly, that's the one season if you're an Oilers fan that you
forget.
Yeah, you forget. Like it was.
I think we almost cost Pat Quinn his Hall of Fame induction there.
Oh man.
Oh man. The list though of players from that year. Actually, Hemsky played 22. That was the year he got traded, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Robert Nielsen, Andrew Cogliano, Tom Gilbert, everybody's favorite.
Was Ray there then?
No. Ryan O'Mara actually played 3. I don't remember watching him that year. I mean, everybody thought he would be something.
Here's the name, Ryan Tolney.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh man. Yeah, there was Taylor Chorney. Remember him?
Hey, we had Wisnowski then.
Yeah, it wasn't that there. It just that was JF Jacques. Oh, there we go.
He was a dank man. He came to Grand Prairie then for that training camp there, and like he was an unestablished player, and he was refusing to do autographs for some kids sometimes.
Oh really?
Yeah, he thought he was a big shot.
Well, future Hall of Famer, right? Future Hall of Famer. He might be the next Oiler to get that.
Shoe in, first ballot.
Okay, Ryan Potulny.
Oh man.
Ryan Potulny finished 6th in scoring on that team.
Oh,
that's the hardest part.
He was tied for 30 years.
Ryan Potulny finished only to play a combined 10 NHL games after that season was done.
That was the season I finished 7th in Oilers scoring.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. A little trip down memory lane.
We get that the next year.
Yeah, and here I tell this Flames guy, highlighting hockey, that I'm making fun of the Flames on this show, and here I am talking about the 2009-2010 Oilers.
Yeah, but who was
Oh
our
man.
first round pick the next year for that horrifying team?
Who? Yeah, we won the lottery. It would have been Taylor, right? Or was it? Or
Wasn't that pre-lottery where we just won it outright because we sucked so
oh
bad?
yeah. Was it? Who was it? Was it? Why am I?
2010 draft.
Yeah, 2010 draft. Was it Taylor Hall?
Taylor Hall,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was the we won the lottery. We won the lottery that year. Yeah.
Like it was a shock.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't any shock. Yeah. It's a shock when we didn't win the lottery for a couple of those
It was a
years.
shock when we won the McDavid lottery. That
Oh
was a shock.
man.
Yeah.
Wow. Was that ever?
We got a half hour left.
That's actually called right there. That's called winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Brett's oh no, I don't know if he's watching or listening. He's got stripes there. He's tweeting out stuff about Rip the Ref. All right. We got a half hour left. Half hour, guys. And I see this tweet. It's got me totally off my game here. And I had something that I wanted to bring up. We're talking about Taylor Hall. And yeah, 2009, 2010. Is that I guess before we leave that, is that the worst? I mean, I think that's the worst we've ever finished. Is that the worst season the Oilers have ever had? I think it is.
I think it must be.
Yeah.
I just remember. I remember watching the games because I never missed an Oilers game, so I was still watching all the games. I remember just being numb watching it. Like I expected us to lose. Like within the first 5 minutes, we're down 2-0, and all you're doing is you're staring at the TV screen, just watching these people just kick a puppy across the street. That's all you're doing. You're just numb to it.
It's boring.
Even when there was a fight, it was terrible.
Yeah. Oh man.
Come on, swing already.
Tortini.
Yeah.
Oh man. That guy. McIntyre played 4 games that year, though.
Yeah.
McIntyre was a beast. Man, that guy.
Mac could throw some. Oh yeah, he was tough. Saskatchewan boy.
Remember when he KO'd Vonins and ended him?
Oh.
Yep. In the preseason.
That's one of those guys that when you watch Ice Guardians, which by the way, if you haven't watched it, you have to watch it. But that's one of those guys that gives the other guys like PTSD, right? Like honestly, when and let's be fair, when your job, is to get out there and fight a guy that throws like McIntyre or Lucic or anybody like that, if that's your job, George, like you are not, whether that's been part of your game or not, there's no part of you that is, I get the anxiety. I get the anxiety.
I think it was that same season where he annihilated Ivanins that kind of went around, and then he ended up in Pittsburgh and fought Eric Goddard, and Goddard broke his orbital bone and messed him up pretty good.
I remember that, yeah. That was brutal. But that knockout, that was...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Scary stuff.
And it's when that shit happens that, I'm not loving fighting in the game, but at the same time, to be fair, I love a good fight. I have such a hard time. Like when I see something like that, you don't want to see it. But as long as there's fighting in the game, you're going to see something like that. Like it'll be over the next 20 years, if fighting stays in the game, you probably see some major injury again. I'm surprised that in our time in the modern game that we've not seen anybody not get up in the NHL. It's happened in other leagues. Happened in other leagues, right?
You know what? Like you want to see your guy win the fight and like, wreak havoc. But on the other hand, you don't want to see the other guy like down on the ice hurt. You know what I mean? Like it's funny that way.
Yeah, no, it is funny that way, right? Like it, but it's just like when you play senior hockey and the guy, you get into a scrap or whatever, and then you see him at the bar a half hour later at the town bar, and you're drinking together, right? Like it's in no way a reflection of how you feel about somebody, unless if that guy's name's Sean Avery, in which case you're throwing those ones to hit, right?
Matthew Kachuk.
Or Kachuk, yeah, yeah, and you talk about that. Like there are times where you see, and you can just tell in the way the guy's chucking that he's wanting those to inflict damage. Like where there's a difference between a hockey fight and a guy that's mad, right? You know what I mean? Like it's just.
Well, I guarantee you
different.
that Zach Cassian was pissed off at
Oh,
Kachuk. Actually, he was pissed off at
absolutely.
the referees, and then he got just pissed off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you watch fights from the 70s and 80s, they go to kill the guy. Like they're punching these guys and they're lying on the ice already.
Dave Semenko definitely didn't go out to make you feel pretty.
Okay. All right. Well, at highlighting hockey and good burn. I like this. He says you guys are good.
You know what I mean?
He says you guys are good. Shame half your live audience is a Flames fan. I've enjoyed this. Oh man. I'll have you know that there's 3 or 4 other people watching on the other platforms. I'll have you know. We'll have you know. If my mom were alive, she'd be tuning in.
Shout out to Brett's mom. Doesn't she always listen?
She does always listen. But I think you shouldn't have said that. I think you should have just kept that with a shout out to Brett's mom, because everybody needs a mom joke once in a while.
We could edit that out in
post-editing. Of course, if she's listening now, she might not. She'd be like, Brett, I don't want you hanging out with those guys. Yeah. She is.
Mike, you were asking me before the 2009-10 season was the worst Oilers season. I just checked the winning percentages, and it's actually it's 4th worst winning percentage in the history of the Edmonton Oilers.
Really? That surprises me. What was the worst season?
94-95 Oilers. They finished with a .396 winning percentage, which is the worst.
How many games did they play that year?
Well, yes, that's a good point, because the worst 2 are the strike-shortened seasons. So.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember those strike-shortened seasons. There were not many Oilers fans complaining. It was like, let's get this.
Was that Ryan Smith's
shut her down.
Season, or did he come in 95, 96?
95, 96. I'm almost positive about that. But stats guy Bob would normally tell me.
I am going to tell you.
And he's
94, 95, he played 3 games, and 95, 96 was his rookie season. Yeah,
that was his rookie. Oh man, there was something, honestly, and then that damn Stripes got me off guard with his tweet, and now I can't remember. We're running out of time. We got 22 minutes left. Leave it to the refs. Throws me way off. Jerome McGinley. Hey, you know what? I like Jerome McGinley. That's a player that I love, like that type of player. And whether he wore the C on his chest or whatever, but and I hated him. I hated him. In fact, whenever I say I hate a player, that typically means I would love them if they were on the Oilers, right?
I personally, Mike, I never hated Ginla.
Oh, I hated him. I hated him.
He was such an honest player.
No, I know he was, but I hated him because he was a Flame.
I hated his jersey.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate him.
Okay.
100% jersey. I'm with you totally. Ginla was actually probably one of my top 2 or 3 players in the NHL at the time when he was playing with the Flames. I absolutely loved him.
Sorry.
I just hated the jersey he was wearing. I couldn't cheer for his team.
CCRHL Insider on Periscope says, sources tell me Bob's glove hand is slower than his internet connection. Wow, he's got you pegged. Got you pegged. Love it.
I love it.
I should probably tell CCRHL I've seen better officiating at a Foot Locker.
Yeah. Oh man!
I hope he's reffing the game, the live game.
Oh, geez. All right. Sorry. Now back to again. Like, yeah. No, I get where you're going at, but I still like I can respect the player, but I still might hate him. and that's again. And in fact, if I hate you as a player, it's typically because I respect you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can
And
name a couple.
yeah,
Theo Fleury, Joe Nieuwendyk.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hated.
Medano,
Yeah.
Mike
Medano.
Daniel, and Henry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't hate them.
Yeah.
I never hated them. They were never going to amount to anything. They proved it in the playoffs. You mean they're going to hit us in the corner when we
Oh,
cycle the
jeez.
puck? We always do.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Boston had their number, and thank you, Boston, for winning me so much money. I appreciate it.
On the Bruins payroll.
Marchand had their number.
I was the only guy in Dawson Creek that year that was betting on the Bruins, and I won so much money. Yeah, all those Canuck fans were not happy with me.
So I can't believe I didn't remember this tweet, but I saw it today somewhere, and I just thought I would bring it up while it was on my mind. Probably one of the most epic tweets happened in 2013. Connor McDavid. This this one should be framed and put on everybody's walls, because as everybody knows, in Toronto, he's going to end up playing in Toronto. And the tweet's pretty simple. It says, "Leaf fans are pretty quiet now. Hashtag quick playoffs." I'm like, how could you not? How could you not love that? Like, is that not our leader?
That's our leader.
Oh man!
I also think that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to push for Shane Doan to be in the Hall of Fame, because without Shane Doan in Phoenix, they would never gotten Austin Matthews.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh man, Austin Matthews. Oh, we were talking a little bit about. By the way, even the Flames fan says, "I respect Fleury as a player. Period. He can pound sand." Absolutely, right? You got to. In fact, as a player, there is no doubt you got to respect Theoren Fleury. Do you think he'll make it into the Hall next year, or do you? Once here, how does that work? He can go in next year, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's got. I don't even think there's a time frame anymore. They got rid of that.
They have to wait 3 years once they retire from the NHL, but there's no limit on the time frame though after that.
Yeah.
They can do special circumstance though. I believe
They stopped that after Gretzky though.
Oh, did they?
Weren't going to do that anymore.
Tell McDavid.
Well, it's a good thing they didn't do it for Lemieux, right? Because he would have come back and been like Hall of Fame and playing, right?
That's probably why.
Maybe they'll make an exception for McDavid and put him in next year, and he can still keep playing.
Yeah, put him in. Oh man. I'm totally off my game now. I can't even remember, and I blame Stripes. I had a couple things I wanted to talk about, and it certainly wasn't talking about the Oilers' worst seasons ever. I know. I remember what I wanted to talk about, because I was making fun of Patty O'Sullivan, and then we started talking about Sam Gagner. When you think about, though, players that should just, they just are Oilers, right? And cancel out all the Hall of Fame guys, because there's some players that are just Oilers players, and the two that come to mind are Ryan Smith and Sam Gagner, right?
Just Oilers?
Yeah, they're guys that Fernando Pisani, yeah, guys that love hockey, love the Oilers. I think George Laraque is another guy, actually. You know, Strudwick actually, maybe not so much as you'd think, but he's an Edmonton boy, and he made the effort to come to the Oilers and wanted to play. He's one of those players that always amazes me in a lot of ways, partly because I knew him in high school, but then the second part is there's a lot of folks even to this day in other hockey markets that have no idea who Jason Strudwick is, and he played over 700 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that's phenomenal, right? Like, isn't that unreal?
Wow.
To have a career that long and to be a guy that, like we're talking about, we started this program talking about stay-at-home defensemen.
Yeah.
He jokes himself that if he ever got a goal, he was pretty damn excited, right? Like, he might not have even scored, I don't know how many he scored career-wise, but it wasn't. Bet you, like, there's some goalies that have scored more. In fact, Grant Fear's single-season record there was probably more points in a season than Strud's ever had.
You are correct. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. So
most points he ever scored in a season was 9.
There you go. And yet he managed to eke out it's 700 and some games, right? How many games? You're looking at it?
674 over 14 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, but Jason would punish you. He'd punish guys in the corner. Like, oh God, I wouldn't want to go in the corner with that man.
Yeah, absolutely. And he'd throw him down, right? He'd fight when he had to. Good leader, right? Like, you always hear, when people talk about him, they talk with respect, right? He wore the A right away. And he even filled in on wing that year, right? When they wanted him to. Yeah, he was just about as bad offensively on forward as he was on D. But yeah, like, how can you? It's funny, right? Because you think about players and folks like us that have never set foot on an NHL rink or in an NHL game. It's easy for us. But
what's Strud's plus minus?
Career-wise, it's bad because he played on a lot of shitty teams.
Yeah, he did.
Minus 82 for his career.
Well, that's not bad, though, considering how many points
Not for a career.
He has 55 points career, 13 goals over 674 games, 811 penalty minutes.
And he's minus 82. That's not horrifying.
Well, and the worst he ever was in the season was minus 19 with the Canucks in 99. So. And the best he was +4 with the Canucks in 02.
Unreal.
Right?
Teams. So he was definitely a defenseman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely
defensive.
There is no denying that. And his story on you have to go back. I should send it to you because it was a good interview with him. We talked about how he made it to the NHL. And he almost went. He went undrafted into the WHL. Played with Jerome McGinley, Darcy Tucker, all in with that major team in Kamloops.
Yep.
And in fact, I think I'm trying to recollect. It's been a couple of years, but I'm fairly certain that he drove to the camp with Iginla and. Maybe not Tucker, but it was with Iginla for sure.
Doan.
Maybe it might have been Doan, yeah. Anyway, that team was unbelievably stacked. And so he won some Memorial Cups. And then he got drafted, I think, in the late rounds as well. Which, right, like if you're anything out of the first round, I mean, your odds of actually sticking are pretty slim.
The third round pick, 63rd overall by the Islanders in 94.
Yeah. 63rd overall?
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's not too bad.
Round.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you know what? He's related to the Niedermayers. Hey, they're his cousins or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, pretty neat story. But back to we're talking like I'm thinking of guys that are like, oil like the kind of Oilers that if Chad had ever played for the Oilers would be like that. Guys that bleed the Oilers colors and you think like when I think about Sam Gagner, that's a guy that right like I think he would he'd give the team a hometown discount. I think he was legitimately upset to leave. I think he'd be back in a flash. I think Ryan Smith, for instance, right? That was. I think Smith probably heads that cast of players by far, right? And it was a shame that he ever left, to be honest. Yeah. But who else? I mean, I'm thinking, George Laraque, Jason Strudwick. There's got to be a list of players like that. Pisani, obviously, but Pisani's obviously was career was cut short by what colitis did he have, or what was it? Something like that. I know it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's colitis.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, which is too bad. I mean, of course, he never, and I think some of it though he got diagnosed that summer after the Cup run.
Yeah.
And he just never came back the same. In fact, I think in that he never played a full season after that.
No, I have colitis as well, actually. And
okay.
I understand what he's going through. So he had a massive weight loss when he was diagnosed.
Yeah.
He had a super flare up and lost a pile of weight and just couldn't play.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a shame, right? But he had been suffering with it, or he had been suffering with it for a while, right? Like it wasn't, I think that it was undiagnosed for a little while. But yeah, if I look back after the year that they went to the finals, he played 56 games the following year, 38, 40, and 60. So he could never, and which is even harder, right? Like to put together any type of. He certainly had the skills to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a flare-up with colitis, you drop 20 pounds is not unheard of. It's actually pretty simple.
Yeah.
And 20 pounds for those guys, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Means getting the puck or not, right? Yeah, absolutely. Who else? Lucic. Yeah.
What about a guy like Kelly Buchberger?
Oh, yeah, Buchberger. 100%. Yeah, Buchberger would.
What about Gator?
There you go. I was thinking about him too. Him or Ethan Morrow?
Yeah.
Morrow.
What about Raffy?
I don't know.
That guy just bled. He just bled.
There was
if he didn't, somebody else did.
There was the Twitter thing going around just the other day that was about things like crazy NHL stories or whatever, things that have happened to you, and somebody mentioned that he'd gotten into a fight with Rafi Torres at a bar or something, and I'm like, oh, you know what? If that wasn't so believable. Yeah. It's like nobody on there said, I don't believe he got into a fight with Rafi. I was actually pretty sure I saw him at a bar last year, I think, in Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah, in Vancouver.
Raffy
In fact, I was texting with Dursa at the time, and I was trying to sneak a picture of the guy. I couldn't figure out if it was him. I was almost positive it was him, but yeah.
Raffy. I love Raffy.
Oh man.
I think we were trying to tell you to try to body check him and see if he'd hit you back, but
he would, but he'd leave his feet doing it.
That's right. Yeah. And he'd wait until I was turned the other way. Yeah. Oh man. How about Pontus Aberg? Who? Steos? Yeah, Steos.
Steady Steve.
Yeah, Steve was.
What about Huddy?
Yeah, Huddy's a good one.
Yeah, you gotta. Charlie Huddy's got to be in there.
Chris Pronger.
yeah, Pronger definitely in there.
Definitely not in there. Pronger likes Edmonton women, just not the team so much.
Oh yeah. Who's a guy that I'm just kind of going through the all-time list here. Well, Louis DeBrusque is a guy that we haven't talked about.
I got one. It saddens me to say it, but he's definitely bleeds blue and gold no matter what. Is the late Dave Semenko?
Oh yeah. 100%.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Semenko for sure. Geez, I'm looking at the all-time roster, and
Kevin Lowe?
yeah, Kevin Lowe. Yeah, I mean those guys. Those are the obvious ones, I think, right?
Jeff Bookaboo?
Book. Yeah, jeez.
Juicy.
Here's a guy that you'd probably say the same about Calgary and Edmonton, Martin Gélina. Right? Like as an Oiler. I mean, and he loved Edmonton actually. Like he in fact he lived in Edmonton a number of years until he became part of the Flames franchise.
Could have left that part out.
Yeah. No, I know.
It was going so good till then.
I can't put a player that plays for the Flames as well as bleeds blue and gold. That's why I haven't said Grant.
Randy Gregg?
Yeah. What about Grant Fuhr?
Grant Fuhr, you bet. Although
Smith.
he finished his career with the Flames.
I know.
Steve Smith.
Steve Smith,
I think Steve Smith has been playing for the Flames since '86.
He scored a great goal for the Flames, though.
That's why.
Yeah.
Off
one of the
Grant
greatest-
Fuhr's leg.
One of the greatest goals in the Flames history has been done by Steve Smith.
Yeah, well, he was wearing the frickin' Oilers jersey. Never forget that one.
Oh,
That's why when he signed with the Calgary to end his career, I'm like, well, didn't he play for the Flames since '86? Jeez.
What about Simpson?
He just seems to hate the Oilers now, though, doesn't he? Like anytime he says something about the Oilers, doesn't it feel like he's got a hate on for the Oilers, and he's become sort of a Leafs fan again? Isn't he from Toronto?
Or is he still a Penguin?
Yeah.
Mac T. You got to have Mac T in there.
Oh, I said Mac T.
Oh, did you?
I think
Okay.
I think some people take offense to any like criticism of Edmonton. I don't think Simpson hates the Oilers.
I think you're wrong, Mike.
He's on stop for show like every 3 days. Like if he hated Edmonton, he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you take away my fun. That's fine.
You can still have your fun.
Dave Lumley. Dave Lumley. There's a guy that, in fact, he played senior hockey in Edmonton for a number of years after he played. He would end up, funny, but Lumley would end up, back behind the Argyle there, they had the arena. I think it's right by the Thunderdome, right?
You could watch. You could watch rec hockey games in the Thunderdome.
Yeah. Well, Lumley played in with the senior team, and they would play there. And every now and again, when Dutchie was doing the sports talk on ITV, I think he had Sports Night or whatever. And
coming up tonight on Sports Night.
Yeah, that's right, Sports Night. And every now and again, Dutchie would play a Dave Lumley goal from senior hockey.
Dave Hunter.
Dave Hunter.
Yeah.
He played in a Heritage Classic and could barely get a jersey on.
What about Mark Lamb?
Mark Lamb. There we go.
Lee Fogland.
Yeah, Lee Fogland's good.
Adam Graves.
Marty McSorley, for that matter. McSorley should be in there.
Marty Reisner.
Yeah, Marty Reisner. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of names, right? Like guys that.
Oilers legend Darcy Hordachuk.
Yeah. Linus Omark.
Yeah.
Brandon Manning.
Robbie Schremp.
Robbie Schremp. I was going to go there next.
Oh, yeah.
The legend of Robbie Schremp.
Jeez, eh?
The
The
future
great-
Oilers.
The great hopes we've had that have just been total busts.
What about Tom Pody? Remember that? Like, we're talking about great hopes that you had, right? Like, didn't you want more out of that guy than he ever gave us?
He was the most mundane defenseman
Wasn't
ever.
he? Like, as soon as you said that, I just passed by his name on this all-time list, and I was thinking to myself, he was just, like, when I think about disappointing, Tom Pody just sort of fits up there, because I always thought he would be better than he was.
Didn't he have some health issues too?
I don't know.
He's allergic to everything. Actually,
Yeah.
I met him all one time and at Reds way back then, and then he was having bland noodles. That's what he was eating. Like he couldn't put any sauce or anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Oilers instigator?
Oh, Tick. It's
Yes.
got to be. Yeah, it's got to be.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a tick in it.
Yeah, there's nobody. Nobody did it better, right? Like,
So
he's still doing it. In fact, he's still doing it, right?
Is that Hall of Fame material?
Well,
That's a Tikkanen, 100%.
he
Just that
could
freaking goal he
be.
scored in double overtime over Vernon's glove is enough for me.
All right, guys. We you know what? It's never wrong to finish a podcast talking about Tikkanen. It's just
No.
never wrong. It's just never wrong. And if it is wrong, I don't ever want to be right. All right, guys. 10:30. You know what? It was fun tonight. We actually had some hockey talk with the Hall of Fame, some other things going on. Like usual,
Controversial.
I'm pretty much the only one that talks any sense on this program, but I'm just glad to have you guys.
I remember when you said I totally agree with Bob. That was almost
yeah, there we go.
Luchansky's recording that.
That's right. That's right. He's got a CD full of clips of me saying that the refs are good
How
shit.
much Mike loves the ref. He's never caught me yet, so.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Guys, this is Michael with Oilers Live. Maybe first off, any last words, fellas? Start with Bob. Go around. Bob?
I have no last words because I don't want them to be on my gravestones.
All right. Mr. Dursa?
Congratulations, Kevin Lowe and Ken Holland and Jerome McGinley and the rest of the people that got inducted into the Hall. It's a great honor. And let's go Oilers go. Hopefully we get some guys showing up and camps get rocking and rolling and Edmonton gets named the hub city. And Vancouver doesn't.
Mr. Graham.
Tikkanen for the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, and tune in to the Alberta Open qualifiers, right?
Yeah, Tuesday at Colonial. Let's hope.
You know, I used to manage food and beverage at Colonial.
Oh, all right.
I got
shot
free.
77 there today, but I don't think that's going to be good enough.
I got free golf there
76
all the
What's that?
time. I used to get free golf there all the time.
Yeah.
And I probably still couldn't shoot a 76 on the front nine. But nice, you know what? Nice course. I like it. Nice little area. Yeah. The greatest thing, this will be my last story before you go. At least 4 or 5 times a season, a homeowner would come into the clubhouse with a golf ball.
And no window.
And no window. And be surprised. Like, that wouldn't happen when you put your backyard on a golf course.
Fairway.
Yeah, on a fairway. Anyway, all right, guys. This is Michael with Oilers Live. It's been a fun night. We're back on Monday, 8:30, Mega Thread Monday, and Rip the Ref with Mr. Brett Luchansky. Everybody have a great night and a great weekend. Stay safe. See you soon.
Oilerslive.